Okay, right. So it says here that your grooming has an impact not just on you, it has on your colleagues, it has on your customers. So, I mean, basically, even when people come to an organization and they have to either interact with you, either from a customer perspective, or even if you walk into a place to go seek for service or to go have a conversation, either you're presenting your company or you're going on your own, you need to actually ensure that you have this persona, you are confident, you are absolutely presentable. The way you put yourself together shows your ambition. I don't know about sincerity because we're talking about your grooming here. So they're two different things, but it just shows that you're somebody to be reckoned with and somebody to be listened to. Remember, they would assess you first of all on how you look before you even start to have a conversation. Please go to the next slide. Okay. Right. Barbara Walters says that there are a few times in your life when it isn't too contradictory to say that your destiny hangs in your appearance and the impression that you make. So let's say, for example, you're going for an interview. You know for a fact, nobody needs to tell you, you need to put your best foot forward. You are going there showing that you are worth listening to. You are going there showing that you actually are intentional, not just about what you have in your brain, but about how you also look. And like we'll be going through in all this training session, remember that when it comes to appearance, it's not just really about how you dress, it's also about your hair. It's clearly about the cleanliness, even your breath, about your teeth, about your toes, about your apologies, about your fingernails. Everything actually puts together what forms you as a person. So we'll be going into that in bits and pieces. But yes, your destiny really does hang in the way you look and that first impression that you make. Of course, we're hoping that it's not just when you either have an interview or a meeting or you're representing your company that you actually look good. We expect you to actually look good and clean and neat every single day, even if you're in your house. I hope that really sticks with us. All right, please go to the next slide. Right, so we've been talking about grooming. What exactly is grooming? It is the process of making yourself look neat and presentable. It involves the things that you do by yourself that makes you look and appear tidy and pleasant. Um, it also clearly has to do with obviously dressing well and you're presentable. The thing about it is really, yes, we tend to also want to look good for others. But what if I tell you that you would actually feel good for yourself? So it's not just about the way others perceive you, it's also about the way you perceive yourself. So, yes, you're making yourself look neat and presentable. And yes, of course, you want to also be acceptable anywhere that you go to. Either you're presenting your company or you're even going for a presentation yourself or you have an interview. But even you, because the truth is, when it speaks to confidence, it's about how you feel about yourself. So you can actually get to a place and maybe they don't really know who you are yet. They don't know what you have in your brain and you're about to prove yourself. Believe me, the way you feel about yourself, that confidence level will determine the way you speak, will determine how you actually interact with the others, irrespective of the look on their faces, irrespective of if you think they're buying it or they're not buying it. How you feel about yourself would really determine that confidence level. So remember, you also need to look good and feel good for you. It's very important that you remember that. Please go to the next slide. Right. So it says here that grooming and dress code really does not make a man, but when he is made, they greatly, obviously, improve his appearance. And we're told to read carefully and think about this. So it's something they want us to dwell on. So read it again and just ponder on it for yourself. Right. So, like I said in the beginning, people learn best about you first, not by what they're told, but by experiencing your appearance and your action. Like I said, not just about first impression. Every single day, make a conscious effort to actually just always put your best foot forward when it comes to your appearance and your grooming. All right, please go to the next slide. Thank you. Grooming enhances your appearance and your professionalism. Whether this is imaginary, we need to just bear in mind that people naturally, we sadly we can't do much about that. They assess you based on how you look, first of all, before they know that you have either an 5A star or they know that you're the most brilliant person in that room. Your appearance, it means a lot to humans generally, irrespective of where you are or who you are. You are first assessed by the way you actually put yourself together. And it says here clearly that grooming is important for clearly, I mean, that positive image. So not just because you have a meeting, not just because you're going for a presentation or you have an interview. Make a conscious effort every day to put your best foot forward. Please go to the next slide. Okay, I mean, we'll have to keep reiterating it. Some of the perceptions that people have about you come closely from your appearance, your professionalism, the way you put yourself together, your level of sophistication. And like I would mention, like I said also to the class last year, when we say level of sophistication, please know that we're not talking about the cost or the price tag of what you're wearing. No, it's the way you put it together. It doesn't have to be something very pricey or something very expensive. No, that's not what we're saying here. Sophistication has to do with the way you blend your colors, the way you put yourself together, the way you look neat, your appearance. That's what we're speaking to here. Your intelligence clearly also has to do with your grooming, and it would impact the way, like I said, you feel about yourself. It will determine the way you actually speak to others, the way you even project your voice. It would speak to how you actually engage and interact with people. Remember, the context here is about your professionalism and how you actually carry yourself. Your credibility and your reliability. Yes, the fact that you have put thoughts together on how you actually would look determines how serious you are as a person. And of course, you tend to get respect if you actually put yourself together, not just because you have a meeting. And I keep saying that because some of us tend to, like, you know, do the very best we can because we're going for a meeting or we're going for an interview or we're going to meet people. You can do this every single day and be known for that one person that they can't catch unawares. That even if you're not sure you were going for a meeting on a particular day, they can actually know that no, you can represent your company, you can represent the organization because they know that at any given time you actually do look your best. Please go to the next slide. Thank you. Like I spoke about when we first started, when it comes to grooming, we're not just speaking about your dress, your shirt, your tie, or your socks, or your shoes. We're speaking to your hair. How does your hair look? Is it well cut? Is it well groomed? Is for the ladies, is it well braided? Is it in a neat ponytail? It's not all over your face. You have a very clean, professional look. Like I said earlier, your nails also matter. For the female, of course, it can be, you can have nail polish in it, but please make sure it's not chipped. Make sure it's actually neat and tidy. For work environments, there should be a level to the length of the nails. So, like I said, the context here is a professional work environment. So, there should be a significant length that you should have when it comes to your nails. Your teeth, pardon me, I know we're speaking to adults here, but you also need to be very conscious about your teeth, your breath. It's very, very important that we also put that into perspective. Make sure that at every point in time you actually do take the grooming to also speak to your cleanliness generally. Your makeup, this really is about our females, and we apologize once again. It's because we're speaking about grooming and appearance. We need to ensure that our makeup is not too flashy. It's not too loud. It doesn't mean you can't use your red lipstick. I love red lipstick, but also know that there's a time and place for everything. Try and put into perspective where you're going or the company you work with, how what is acceptable there, and also how you want to be perceived, how you want to be seen. Please make sure you have your makeup. It also would give you that glow. It would also make you feel confident about yourself. For those who wear makeup, there's some ladies, sadly I'm not one of them, some of you are perfectly made that you don't need makeup. Some of us do need a bit of makeup. So if you're going to use makeup, just make sure that you wear a light makeup, something subtle, not something too loud. If you're going to put lashes on, make sure it's a significant length, not too long, not like we're going for a wedding. When we're going for weddings, sure, I mean, we can use whatever length we want. When it comes to being professional at work, try and keep it to the barest minimum, but ensure that you look good. Make sure you're confident about how you look to yourself, first of all, even before you're trying to impress anyone. When it comes to accessories, male and female, but really it's around the females. Let's also try and keep it within the professional angle. Of course, please make sure you have your bracelet on, make sure you have your watch on. Of course, wear your earrings, wear your chain, but keep it also within the context of looking professional. So, say for example, accessories. Make sure that, for example, even if you're going to wear hand chains or you're going to wear bangles, I don't think it would be appropriate to wear bangles that are like seven bangles, for example. First of all, it's clearly going to be intrusive. It's going to keep making noise. You're at the workplace. So let's, if you can, keep it to bracelets. If you're going to wear bangles, it could be two. That really will not be intrusive. So let's also put other people into perspective. The minimum level of noise as much as we can. Your earrings, make sure they're neat and tidy. If you can, just use small clips. If you want to use the round loop ones, make sure they're safe for you because they also can cause a bit of a risk really to you. So we'll keep it within a very modest when it comes to accessories. Bear in mind that we're speaking to professional work environment here. Like I said, outside work environment, of course, we can do as much as we want to do. Like I said, based on where you work, be mindful of the dress code. If there's a uniform policy in place, please ensure that you um, work in line with the uniform policy. So I worked in, for example, I mean, I worked in Dangote for what, about 5 years. It was a very business casual environment. People could come to work on a Monday morning in full native. It was acceptable, but you still need to look presentable. If you're wearing full native, for example, make sure your footwear is in line with that. If you're going to put on a cap, put on a cap for the gentleman. So you need to understand where you work and make sure that you're in line with the dress code and the acceptable uniform policy. Please go to the next slide. Thank you. Right, this is just overall cleanliness. I don't think we need to go through this. Well, we're advised to take a shower at least twice a day, depends on the climate that you are. But I mean, if you've gone out and you're sweaty and you're hot, of course, nobody needs to tell you to take a shower even before going to bed. It will make you feel good about yourself. Give proper attention to your cleanliness. Obviously, we all know this. Your clothes have to be neat, they have to be tidy, they do have to be odor free. Like I told the class last year, and like I would always say, some of us like to really prepare what we will. It might sound funny, but as far back as when I was in the university, I would know what I would wear every day of the week. That's the truth. I would actually know what I'm wearing on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So at least I take that out of my mind. And it's clearly grown with me up until today. I know what I would wear the next day. I don't wake up in the morning and then I'm scrambling, I'm wondering, oh, what am I? No, don't do that. Always plan everything. Now, I'm not sure if we'll still have time for that, but even if you're going to wear just two blazers in a week, have your shirts in mind, the ties you're going to wear with it. If for the females, the top, the blouse, the skirt, just have it in mind. Make sure it's already ironed, it's there. So you're not waking up the next day and then your shirt is rumpled, or maybe your alarm didn't even wake you up on time. Please make sure that you actually know what you, especially when it comes to your clothing. If it's something that's been hanging in the cupboard for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, it might have that smell of the room. So you probably will need to like air it, just take it out. So you need to know what you're going to, you need to ensure that you are prepared at every point in time when it comes to your professional outlook. Um, Obviously, give due check to body odor. Be very mindful of that. Please always wear deodorant. I believe almost everybody does that. Please make sure. I understand it can be quite expensive now, but please make sure you still have time and you find that fund to make sure that you actually still buy your deodorant. It's very, very important. Don't be one of those people that you probably get to, you enter a place and people are walking away or something and you're not sure why. Please be very mindful of your body odor. If you can, please get a perfume. Like I said, this really it's even about how you feel about yourself, not just about the people you're going to meet, not just about your colleagues or your customers or even you being a customer right now. So it's about how you feel about yourself. Um, all free, neat look at every point in time, as much as you can. Some of us do have oily face. Let's be mindful, but there's really nothing about that. If you can, it just tells people that you are very intentional. So if you know that you have an oily face like me, just have something either you're able to like dab your face at intermittent times. Um, of course, if you have a very fragile skin, be very mindful of what you use on your skin. Prevent skin infection, prevent diseases as much as you can. If you have very delicate skin, please before you start using a new product, a new care routine, be sure that it would actually work for you, and so that you don't like complicate your skin issues. And if you do have a skin reaction or you are reacting to something, be mindful of your colleagues, be mindful of customers, or even you by yourself. Please make sure you have it checked to be sure that it's not something that can affect others. Please go to the next slide. Thank you. Right. So we've spoken about your hair. So we'll start first with the gentleman. The truth is, we all know what a neat look is. We do know that. We know when we're looking well groomed, we know when we're looking put together. So, we're saying here is that for the gentleman, as much as you can, don't have hair um, at the back of your collar as much as you can. I know some of us have a lot of hair at the back, but we're saying just try and keep it very neat, try and keep it well groomed. And for those who actually, I mean, this is it's a new generation. For those who probably have, um, for the gentlemen who keep long hair, either you're braiding it or you have your dreadlocks, make sure they're still looking very neat. You can put this together in a very neat way. Please don't have braided or woven hair that looks all over the place, that it's untidy. Don't do that. If you want to keep your hair long, please you can, but make sure that it's very neat and tidy. Sorry, 1 minute. Make sure that it's very neat and tidy. Make sure that your beards, mustache, it's well clean. It's neat. Make sure you get your haircut as much as you can. Um, Clearly, I mean, untrimmed mustache and sideburns or beards, when they are not kept, they don't look very tidy. So please make sure they're not bushy and like just get in the way. Please go to the next slide. All right, so for our beautiful ladies, like I said, we all know what a neat look is. We all know what a professional look is. Let's try and keep it within that confines of looking presentable at every point in time. Make sure your hair is in a neat hairstyle. Either it's braided, either it's natural. It could be attachment, it could be wig, but however it is, try and keep it away from your face as much as you can when you're in the work environment. It's recommended that hair, if longer than the jawline, should be tied into a bun or put at the back. For those who have natural hair, make sure it is always neat and combed at every point in time. If you have your braids, your attachments, the truth is you can still let it down, but there's a way you can let it down that it will look presentable and it doesn't look like it's getting in the way of your job or you're trying to speak to somebody and then you have to keep flipping the hair. It doesn't really look very professional. So let's just try and keep it within the confines of professionalism. Please go to the next slide. Thank you. So we've spoken about um, nails, and I mean you can see there's even red nails here. Like I said, please, you can play with the colors. Just make sure that it is neat, it is nicely cut, it is not too long, especially if it's in a work environment. It doesn't have dirt inside it. Try as much as possible to avoid brittle nails, try as much as possible to avoid chipped nails. And gentlemen, this is not just about the females. For some gentlemen, I've seen some men who actually keep long, long nails. Let's just make sure that they are neat and they are clean. And you also go for your, go for the nail treatment as much as you can. Please go to the next slide. Okay, so we've spoken about teeth. I don't think we should dwell too much on this. Let's make sure that it's recommended that we brush our teeth twice a day. For those who can, trust me, it will do you a lot of good. Um, if you can, rinse your mouth after every meal. You can just drink a lot of water, and that would help. It just helps to ensure there's no residue left in your mouth, and it just helps your breath in general. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so we've spoken a bit about makeup. Like I said, it's recommended that our makeup for work it looks as natural as it can. Nail polish and lip color should not be too. They said not too trendy. Well, it can be trendy, but the mild trendy colors. So let's stick within that purview. Like I said, I'm very very high on perfumes. I honestly I am very high on perfumes as much as you can. It even makes you feel very good about yourself. Use perfumes as much as you can. Very mild, not the ones that you would put on and people start to sneeze. Some of us have allergies, so be mindful of the perfume. Not too strong. Let it be subtle, flowery, floral. Think within the confines of just mild fragrance. But believe me, when you smell good and you look good, you will feel very good about yourself. Hair color, right? So clearly, we all know this as well. Yes, we tend to highlight our colors, which is acceptable. But of course, for a professional environment, let's try and not do like burgundy or green, like instead of hair, or orange. We can do blonde, nice tone of blonde. We can do brown. I believe highlighted hair colors really are very, very, very nice. I had that for a very long time. It's back to all black now, but the good thing is you can tend to play with your hair color, but stick within the confines of just being subtle and still look presentable. All right, please go to the next slide. Thank you. So when it comes to accessories, we're advised, gentlemen, try and limit your accessories to three. Um, they're counting your wallet as one. Well, people don't see your wallet, so I don't know why we're counting wallets. But we're saying your ring, your handkerchief for those who wear it, your wristwatch. They're also counting your glasses. Some of us cannot see without wearing glasses, so but they're saying just try and keep it within, a certain limit, not too flashy, not too loud, but you can still look very, very elegant and just, you know, barest minimum. But for gentlemen, try and reduce accessories for professional work environment. So they're saying a dress watch can be worn, um, but you should avoid sporty and athletic styles. It also depends on your work environment, depends on also what the culture is, depends on what the formality is around that. Gentlemen, they're saying you should please avoid bracelets as much as you can, necklaces and visible piercings as much as you can. It's recommended that the spectacles, which are your glasses, they should be simple design and with no glitters, nothing shining or glittering for work environment. That's really the recommendation here. Let's go to the next slide, please. Right, for our females, the like we were discussed very briefly earlier that jewelry should be kept minimal, normal, and we believe it should be conservative. Um, as much as you can, facial piercings are not recommended. Um, well, we live in a different generation now. If even if you're going to use facial piercings, because I'm a very objective person, please make sure it's really very tiny. But hopefully, if you're going for an interview, you're not going to an interview where you would be judged on such things. Or if you're going to represent your organization, please make sure you're very mindful of where you're going. You're mindful of your appearance, but if you're big on piercings, it really should be very barest minimum. Please don't go wearing some long, big, very obvious nose ring. If you have to put something there, it could very, really be very tiny so that you're not assessed, fully based on that, irrespective of the brilliance of your conversation. Five-piece rule from a professional perspective. Five accessories are acceptable. Earrings count as two, what counts as three, two additional accessories, which could be, like I said, bracelets. Let's try and avoid chunky bangles. Even if you're going to wear bangle, nothing that would be intrusive to other people. Um, well, working bag. If you do need to have another one, which probably will be your laptop bag, try and keep it within um, acceptable colors, which are either black or brown. But for your handbag, trust me, you can play around subtle colors, but make sure they're not too bogus and they're not too loud. Also, be mindful of your outfit. So, what you're wearing, you need to try and match them together. So, a very safe zone is just black or brown or nude. Those colors really would work with whatever you're wearing. Please go to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, so we're told to be mindful of this, that before choosing a dress or an outfit, understand that you represent an image of the company. Before you represent the image of the company, you represent yourself. So look good for you, feel confident about yourself, and then realize that you actually are representing your organization. The way you feel, it would go a long way into how you actually represent your company. You need to put in perspective the culture that around where you work so that you're shopping in line with that and you're just mindful of what is acceptable and what is not. We're reminded here that casual does not mean being sloppy. So, like I said, I worked at an organization where you can actually come in dressed in full African outfit on a Monday morning. It was quite casual, but it doesn't mean it doesn't mean you're allowed to be sloppy. So please be mindful of the company policy of where you work. Please go to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, so these are just basic tips, which we've already discussed. Your tie. So we're told here that please stick to classic design. Be mindful of the colors. Um, your tie, clearly they don't expect you to touch the top of the belt. Your hair, please be very mindful. Your dress shirts, the jewelry, like we've been told. Your footwear, yet again, I know we're speaking to adults, but it's a class, so we're meant to repeat this. Please make sure that your footwear matches your belt. So if you're wearing a brown belt, please make sure your shoes are also brown. If you're wearing black belt, it has to match your shoes. So please be very mindful with that. Be mindful of your socks. Please make sure your shoes are polished and clean at every point in time. It's also one of the things you need to get ready before morning. So if you're going out the next day, please make sure your shoes are already clean, they're tidy. So it's not the next morning that you're trying to look for a shoe cleaner or a shoe duster. Make sure it's actually very clean. Speaking to your hygiene, always wear deodorant, always make sure your breath is very clean. A lot of fluids would help you. Always use your deodorant or your cologne. If you do have tattoos and piercings within a work environment, try and limit it and try and not make it that obvious. Your nails, we're repeating again, should always be very neat and tidy. Um, yeah, I think these are just tips for us to go through. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, for our beautiful females, so we're recommended that, like we've all discussed, your hair should be simple, it should be conservative, it should look neat, irrespective of if it's natural, if it's braided, if it's a weave on, if it's a wig, put it together in a way that it doesn't look intrusive, it's not in your face or in the face of the person that you're engaging with. If you're wearing blazers, make sure that they're neat and tidy. The colors, the recommended professional colors really are navy blue, black, and gray. Those are really the basic acceptable colors. We tend to, of course, walk around some other ones now, like a dark shade of green, but these are basic navy blue, black, and gray acceptable colors. Accessories, like I said, it shouldn't be too bogus. It shouldn't be, too flashy for work environment. It should be moderate, and it should please match the shoes that you are wearing. Your shoes also clearly have to be clean and not looking tacky. For professional work environment, shoes are preferable when they're closed toe, they're preferable. You can clearly wear your sandals if it's acceptable within your work environment. If you're wearing sandals, please make sure your toenails look very neat. They're tidy, they're not looking chipped. So if you wear sandals, please be very mindful of your toenails. Your hygiene also, I mean, it's very, very fundamental that we also pay very close attention to our deodorant, fresh breath, like we've told everybody. Wear light perfume if you have piercings and tattoos, try and cover them as much as you can. Your nails, clearly, like we've discussed, make sure they are neat and tidy. You can play around colors, play around your subtle colors, but please be mindful also of the net, the length of the nails. Your dress shirt, if you're wearing shirt or you're wearing a blouse, make sure they're ironed. Like I said, please try and get them ready before that morning so that you're not trying to ponder around what you're going to wear. Right. So around jewelries, we've already spoken about that. So I will say let's go to the next slide, please. Okay. So some of us work in places where we can, wear business casual. It doesn't have to be full corporate. Walk around your blouses, your blazers, your pants, your shoes. Be mindful of the colors. Make sure you're putting them together in a very neat and tidy way. If you're wearing dresses, be mindful, corporate, neat dresses. If you're wearing skirts, it's recommended that it gets to the knee. Right. Be mindful of where you work. Be mindful of acceptable standards and work within the limitations of the corporate dressing policy. Please go to the next slide. Right. When I spoke about colors initially, I spoke about the really acceptable um, colors. Um, Black and blue suit, really, it speaks a lot. It speaks around, well, they're saying colors of authority here. It speaks confidence. It speaks seriousness. When you're in a black suit or a black blazer or a navy blue suit, it honestly speaks to confidence. I'm not sure about authority. um, Make sure you stick around white shirt. Your right. Make sure you stick around white shirt. Be very mindful of your tie. Nothing too flashy, too all over the place. It can get very distracting. Stick to very nice prints, very simple stripes or polka dot. Just stick to colors that that would complement what you're already wearing. And like we also said, well, it's recommended that you wear black socks or black shoes. You can also wear striped. You can wear polka dot, but make sure they are matching the tie. So that's what you need to try and work around here. If you want to wear socks that is not plain black. If you want to wear maybe polka dot or striped, it has to match your tie. So be mindful of that. That is also acceptable, but then you need to be conscious of how you are matching it. Sober buckled belts. Please don't wear jeans belts on a corporate suit. Please don't do that. It's not acceptable at all. All the jeans belts with the big buckles, with the big glitter. Please don't do that. No matter how casual the work environment is. If you're wearing a suit, please wear the sober buckled belt. Please go to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, like I said, navy blue, that really is it's a very safe zone. The dark shade of gray, beige, for you to have beige, that means you really do have already, you have a black, you have a navy blue, you have a dark gray, then you can go to other colors. Dark brown is also very nice color, but for those of us who might need to repeat blazers or repeat suits. If you wear your dark brown twice in a week, it becomes very obvious. You can really get around wearing your black 3 times a week. You're changing your shirt color, you're changing your tie. Nobody remembers that it's black blazer or black suit that you're wearing. Same thing goes for your navy blue. You're wearing your navy blue, you're changing your shirt every day, you're changing the tie, you're matching it. You change, so you can work around that. But dark brown, you probably might not be able to repeat it as much because it's a very obvious outfit. It's something that once you wear, it just sticks to the mind. So it's something you can order, when you're sure that you already have all these basic colors already. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so for women, um, pastel tints, pale yellow is recommended here. Oh, so apologies. It's recommended that we don't actually buy pale yellow or bright orange. No, it's not. It's not a very good color for a professional environment. Bright orange, no. Subtle orange, yes. There's another shade of orange that you can actually get, or a brighter shade of yellow, but pale yellow, it's a very uninteresting look, and we don't want to look uninteresting in a professional work environment. Um, Men and women were told to avoid shades of green. Wow, mustard. They actually wrote it 3 times. Bad, bad, bad. That's like avoid it as much as you can. So yet again, dark colors just makes you look intentional, makes you look very serious. Um, Powerful, that's a very strong word, but it makes you look serious, makes you look intentional. It does show authority and it shows control. Please go to the next slide. Thank you. So now we're speaking to actually interviews now. If you have an interview, this is the recommended outfit for both male and female. Neat hairstyle, collared shirt. It's a very, very neat, good look. Um, be mindful of the length of your skirt. Please be mindful of the colors. Like we said, navy blue, black. It's just very acceptable. It's a very, very professional color. If you're into pop socks like me, make sure that it's actually very subtle and it also matches the tone of your skin. Please be mindful of your shoes, female. If you wear heels, make sure you're very comfortable in them. Um, Acceptable shoes are closed toe, especially for interviews. Please don't wear sandals to interviews, no matter how pretty they are. Don't wear sandals to interview. Wear very closed toe shoes and make sure they are neat. Make sure they are just very neat and tidy. There are closed toe shoes that also have buckles if you're really into buckles, but it's recommended that you just wear closed toe shoes, low, medium, not too high, so that it doesn't look very distracting. For the gentlemen, please make sure your hair is well groomed. Like I said, it's a new generation. Even if you have woven hair, or if you have dreads, or if you have braids, please make sure at every point in time it is very neat, it is very tidy, it is put together neatly behind your ears, and you still shave your beards, your mustache. You can still get away with that look, and you will look really very professional and still very, very um, intentional about your look. Make sure your ties are very simple. So remember, we're speaking to interviews now. Stick to very simple tie, long sleeve, of course, press shirt, um, 2 or 3 piece suit. I would just say 2 piece. You don't need to wear a 3 piece suit for an interview unless it's what is required. Stick to your navy blue, your black, your charcoal colors. Make sure your socks. Like I said, if you want to play around socks, make sure it actually matches the tie. And please, as much as you can, gentlemen, stick to your dark shoes, please, especially for interviews. As much as you can, please don't do brown. Just stick to black and make sure that your belt is also black. Right, go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so this is just, I mean, look at the first lady. Does she not just look very, very, like, honestly, if somebody, the only thing is, I wish the hair was packed to the back, okay? But we're speaking to what she is wearing. Her outfit is really very, very good. The color, the shirt is all together, but the hair, I would say just pack it to the back, and that would be a 10 over 10. So really, the shoes, of course, you can play around other kind of heels, but this is what is intended by closed shoes. Please go to the next slide. All right. So for the gentleman, these are recommendations of how you should put your outfit together. Um, like I said, stick to dark colors, please. It's very important that you stick to dark colors. When it comes to interviews, please stick to black shoes, not brown for interviews. It's a black shoe. It's very, very, it's what is recommended no matter the climate that you are, no matter the environment that you are. It's just acceptable color for interviews. So let's stick to that. Well, these are clearly very presentable looks that you should also try to imbibe. And the ties too, you can see they're just very striped ties, nothing out of the ordinary. They are recommended for a work environment. Please go to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, so let's always remember that there's a time and a place for all outfits, for all attires. If we're going to the beach, of course, we know what to wear to the beach. Um, Trips to the mall, we know what to wear. But when it comes to work environment, let us please be very mindful. There's something someone told me all the way in university, and this stuck with me till today. Dress the way you want to be addressed. Of course, I've heard other people say it now, but that stuck with me for all my life. So the way you want to be addressed, that is how you should dress at every point in time. Either you are the customer or you're a service provider or you're going for a meeting, you have a presentation, you have an interview. How do you want them to address you? How do you want them to perceive you? You need to put that into perspective and be intentional about your grooming and your appearance. Next slide, please. All right, so to conclude, we can say that you have one chance to make a good first impression. Your appearance tells others about how you feel about yourself. Remember, I told you that before we even go and represent the company or represent an organization, represent ourselves, how do you feel about you leaving home that day? Do you feel confident? Do you feel that, yes, I have actually put my best foot forward and I absolutely look fantastic? Trust me, when you have that feeling about yourself, there's really almost nothing anybody can say that would make you either feel bad about yourself or you don't feel confident. So you need to feel confident about your looks. You need to feel good about yourself. It is also very important. So when it comes to the corporate ladder, as we progress in life, you need to get to a point where you need to put yourself together to show that you're ready for the next level, you're ready for that promotion, you're ready for that next step, and not just in your brain capability, not just in your intelligence or your certifications or your trainings. The way you also look plays a very significant role on how you assessed by management. So let's always put that into perspective. Right. Is that the end? Is there another slide? Okay, so this is just questions for you to ponder on. Like, who would you hire? So I'll make a little joke. If I was the owner of a of a nightclub, of course I'll hire the lady in B. So, but I mean, we're speaking to corporate environment here, so we're saying obviously for a corporate environment, you will hire the lady who comes in looking very intentional and ready for the job. The next slide, please. Okay, who would you hire? Obviously. The man in A looks ready for the job. The gentleman in B, nah, he's just coming in to deliver pizza. I don't think he's here for a job interview. All right, then the next slide. Okay, right. your apparent level of sophistication. Like I said, not the price tag. Sophistication in this context is how you actually look, how you feel about yourself, your hair, your nails, your makeup, your tie, how do you feel, the way you smell, your breath, your everything speaks a lot about the level of sophistication. The color of your tie, your shoes, your dress, your outfit, all this really plays a very, very major role. Now, non-verbal signs, like I said, before they even hear what you have to say, they assess you based on how you look and the level of your self-confidence. It is very important that you feel good about yourself. Make sure you actually know that when you walk into a place and they look at you, they'll be like, okay, this person really did put everything together. Of course, they might not say it to you. Some might say it to you, some may never say to you, but you would know that you have actually put your best foot forward at every point in time. Is there another slide? Right. And that is the end of the class. I believe we have 8 minutes. Right. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending the session.
Questions. Please feel free to ask your questions. Hello, ma'am. Are you still there?
I can hear you very well.
Yes, we have persons that wants to ask questions.
All right, let's
Afid,
go
you
ahead.
can unmute yourself and ask your question. After that, Oyedemi can go ahead.
All right, thank you very much, Mercy. Thank you very much, Mrs. Mobala, for that insightful presentation. I've learned a lot from what you've shared with us. But I'd like to get your thoughts on something.
Okay.
What's your thoughts on people who draw tattoos? I don't know if you've mentioned that and I didn't catch it. So, because of course we have a younger generation where, people draw tattoos on their knuckles, people draw tattoos on their neck, people draw
Okay.
that their shoulder, as much as people try to hide it,
Uh-huh.
sometimes these things can still be very, very much visible. But in a corporate world, of course, when you're hiring, if for a non-corporate world, you can hire anybody irrespective of whatever they draw,
Okay.
even on their face or on their tongue, if they draw things like that. Then, but
Okay.
in corporate world, what's your thoughts on that? And if, for instance, during an interview, someone appears with things like that and they try to hide it, and then you then recruit them, and then later on you then find out that they have things like that that is disturbing. What do you do? How
Okay.
can you address that? Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Hafiz. All right. So I believe it's a question speaking to my personal opinion. And I'll be very honest with you. I don't have a problem with tattoos. What I have a problem with is say for example, it is very visible and it's like everywhere. It can be a bit distracting, but you need to also be very mindful of where you work. You need to be mindful of what is acceptable. So first of all, I believe this is a Nigerian organization, pretty much. It is not a very acceptable uh, it's something we tend to frown on. So I would say if you do need to get a tattoo, if you're into tattoos, make sure it's not very visible. Make sure it's not distracting. Make sure it's not something that you get into a place and the first thing they see is your tattoo. If you're in America, for example, I'm sorry, even the person you're going to interview with probably has a tattoo. If you're in England, the person you're going to interview with probably has a tattoo all over their back. Do you understand? Exactly. So let's be very mindful of where we are, and then it would go a long way into that. But I will say if you do need to put on if you do need to get a tattoo, please make sure it's not something that you get to a place and that's the first thing they see and they're judging you based on that. I believe that's about it from me on that. Right.
All right,
Mercy.
next, Oyedemi.
Okay.
Okay, Is someone speaking? Okay, let's take the next question from Oyedemi, if I pronounced your name correctly. Please go ahead. Can anyone still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I think you can unmute and ask your question. Okay, if she's not ready, Nesiama, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, Mercy, some people are saying you should unmute them, that they cannot unmute. So I will suggest
Thank you
that
very
if you're
much.
struggling to unmute,
Oyedemi
you
is
can
here
either
now.
put it in the chat room or you can speak. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Oyedemi is here. I want to appreciate our facilitator and presenter for this very beautiful presentation. A quick observation, and I always like to drop that observation anywhere I have that opportunity. When I saw some of the slides that you were running, I saw you're representing some of your pictures with the white, and although towards the end I saw some blacks being shown as representation. Sometimes I ask myself, if the white people are making presentation, can they put black as representing their thoughts? That's just by the way. Then I want to go to the issue of dressing. We all know that dressing well is good manners, is and if you look at our society now, and going to the corporate world, we don't really have issues with the male gender when it comes to dressing well. And I want to go about the female now. I want you to please tell us what the borderline between dressing well and dressing responsibly, especially when we're talking about the female gender, because we see that even in the corporate world, in the society now, most female want to look, let me say, sexy, even in the corporate world. And in attempt to do that, we lose the responsible part of our sense of dressing and appearance. So please, what's the margin? Is there any margin between dressing well and dressing responsibly? Thank you very much.
Hello, Mom, are you there? Okay, everyone, apologize for that. Let's try to get her back on the call. I think she's off the call, probably due to network. Damola, please, can you unmute her? She's been trying to speak, please.
Right, can you all hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, I couldn't unmute myself. I've just been here trying to unmute. Right, apologies, I can't remember the name of the lady that spoke, but I'll quickly respond because I believe we're running out of time. So yes, the presentation slides, I would work with the team, and I assure you that by next year's class, we will update the pictures. But yes, actually, when people abroad also do presentations, they put black and they put white because we're speaking to a very wide audience. But I don't understand what you're saying, and we will review that and update it before the next session. Thank you very much for that feedback. So when it comes to dressing, what is acceptable and what is what is woke or what is hype. I will be very honest with you. Like I said, we're speaking to, even though they're young adults, we all know the acceptable standards. We know what is acceptable. We know that threshold. We know when we are looking corporate. We know when we're looking professional. So what we've tried to do in this class is to make recommendations as much as possible. It really doesn't mean everybody would accept it or adopt it, but there are recommendations based on what we know are best standards and best practice. Like I said during the class, it's a new generation, and we do need to understand that. Truthfully, there are a couple of things I see nowadays, and I'm like, okay, this really is new. This is very strange. But we need to realize that as we're progressing, as the younger ones are coming up, what we termed as acceptable now, they have seemed to have changed it. But when it comes to professional environment, there's still that best practice, there's still that acceptable standard. So, for example, somebody working in, I'll just have to use a global organization, and Amazon, for example, their corporate outlook to how you dress is different from a Zenith Bank, for example. So we need to be mindful of where we are, what are the policies, what are we meant to actually wear, what is acceptable. And when it comes to the females, like you said, um, we all know what is acceptable. We know what best practices. We know when we look neat and tidy and presentable. um, I would really hope that for those who have attended this class, they would understand that what we're just trying to help them do is build a professional brand, build a corporate brand that at every point in time, when you represent your organization or you go for an interview, you actually put your best foot forward and you look presentable, you look acceptable even before they hear what you have to say. So it's really the best we can do is make recommendations and really hope that it is acceptable to a wider generation, especially when it comes to their corporate outlook and their personal branding. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We'll just take few seconds to round up the whole question, right? Because we are running out of time. Okay, so we have few questions in the chat room. I don't know if Nasiama, you still want to ask your question. So the
Yes,
floor
ma'am,
is
here.
yours for just few seconds. Thank you.
Okay. I just wanted to know, in a lot of tech and IT companies, they're known for having a less formal approach to outfits in the office. And I wanted to know if you would still recommend going in with a full corporate look, at least for like the first couple of weeks at work, or would you say to try and dress according to how everyone else at the office is dressed? Like
Okay.
you said, some banks may be more formal, while some other places may be a little less formal.
Okay, thank you for that question. So if you remember during the slides, we made recommendations on if you're going for an interview. So irrespective of how casual they are, if you're going for an interview, please go dressing very corporate. You might think you look out of place, but it's an interview. If they tell you, for example, in the interview letter or the email that it's business casual for gentlemen, that means maybe you don't need to put on a tie, but it's an interview. You still need to look as corporate as you can. When it comes to dress code, they will tell you the dress code. If it's a business casual, formal, you don't need to wear suits and dresses and corporate outlook from your day one. Once you get the job, you can dress like them, but just follow the policy. So please, you don't need to dress corporate because no, follow the policy. If they're all wearing jeans, you can still wear your jeans, you can still wear your sneakers, and you can still put it together in a way that you still look very neat, very presentable, no matter how casual the environment is.
Thank
Oh.
you, ma'am.
You're
All
welcome.
right, ma'am. So we'll just take just few from the chat room. I'm going to be reading them out. You just give us few lines of
Okay.
responses. All right. So the first question from Princess Omosui, she says, if a woman wears a sleeveless jacket to blazers to work, or an event, does it show proper grooming?
Sleeveless blazer.
Yeah.
Right. If you're the only sleeveless blazer that I know, you will still need to wear something under it, unless you're speaking to really those sleeveless blazer to work. It depends on the work, the dressing policy of the organization. If it's acceptable in the organization, there's nothing wrong with sleeveless. But you would also still know the sleeveless that is acceptable. So it's either it's getting to your, how would you put it now, to your, I don't know how I can explain this, but it's not going to look like a spaghetti strap, for example. If it's a sleeveless, it just means that it doesn't have an arm. I mean, some of us work in hot climates, so of course it should be acceptable, but be mindful of the office policy when it comes to dressing. So the fact that you're wearing a sleeveless blazer, of course, I'm sure it will be double-breasted, the one that comes to mind. You can still put that on and still look presentable and very neat.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Next question says, please, in a situation where you are not given a coverall and PPE as an engineer, how do you do your job wearing? And this same company will complain about your jean or other wears. So what do you advise?
Okay, right. So we didn't speak about PPE, but I mean, it's something that I totally understand. So if your job entails that you wear PPE, it's the policy of the organization to actually provide PPE for you. So please, I would say speak to your line manager. Make sure you get your PPE. So if they're not providing PPE for you, it's a different thing. If they don't provide it, then I don't think they can complain about it. But I would say please speak to your line manager and take it through an escalation path. Thank you.
All right. So, and the very last one from Benita, she says, but some eyebrow companies seem to encourage above the knee and tight dressing for women. Why?
Okay, so I don't work in those companies. I cannot speak for them, but I'm sure I understand what you're saying. Sadly, I can't speak for their company policy. But I'll say if you're in our class, I would say as much as possible, just look presentable, look neat, be corporate, be confident about yourself. Feel good about yourself first of all before you even try to impress anybody at the office. That's what I would say. Right. Mercy?
Thank you so much, ma'am. Hello, boss. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Please allow me to switch on my screen. Thank you very much, Mobala. Everybody, a round of applause in the chat room, please, please, everybody. A round of applause. A round of applause in the chat room. Mobala, somebody is even saying here in the chat room, they say your session is just so beautiful. I can imagine, just like you. So everybody, a round of applause. A round of
Thank
applause for
you.
her. Thank you. All right. Somebody said your session is just so beautiful. I can't. I've been training for a very long time, Mobala. Nobody has ever regarded described my session as being beautiful.
Thank you very
All
much.
right.
Thank you.
So, uh, thank you very much for doing.
Hello, boss. Are you still there? Okay.
Sorry about that, Mobala. So once again, as I said, we appreciate your time, your effort, and your expertise as it is. So God bless you, and we look forward to seeing you in future sessions. What's that thing that people say? You should dress the way you want to be addressed. Isn't that what they say, right? They say
Yes,
you
it
and I
is.
should dress and appear and even act exactly the way we want to be addressed. And I think that rounds it up appropriately. So thank you once again, Mobala. God
Thank
bless
you
you.
very much. Thank you. All
Thank
right.
you,
Bye
everyone.
then.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Over to you, Mercy.
All right.